Are you? Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we've gathered here today. We've assembled to talk about a classic Doctor Who story from the William Hartnell era, which is Planet of the Giants. Let's go straight to. Let's see what Beef Dad makes of this story. Let's go to Beef Dad first.
I liked this one when it first came out. I remember watching it, and of course they're trying to materialize, but the doors open first, and they have to close it while they're in the process of materializing. And Ian and Barbara have to go and shut the doors somehow, and but one of the things I noticed is that there were two doors, both doors opened, including the one with the telephone in it, whereas now you only get the one door. And of course they materialize, and they're tiny, and it's just a very they turn up at the place where Guy is making poisons that kill off all the insects.
Pesticides,
Yeah, but and the wonderful thing about it is that the Doctor and his friends are all anti-pesticide, and yeah, that was way back in the time before bees started to become rare, and so many creatures got killed by pesticides, which everybody's now trying to work against. But they started working against it way back then in Doctor Who in the 60s. And the guy who is trying to make the money out of it ends up shooting the scientist who has developed it. And there's all sorts of things go on, like that they think it's, at first they think it might be a snake, but it's not. It's actually a dead worm. Carol Ann Ford finds a dead bee, which is so sad. And it's all just so very funny and clever. I know a lot of people at the time weren't that keen on this, but I always liked it. And oddly enough, I asked William Russell about it, and I asked Carol Ann about it, which were the bits that they liked. And William enjoyed the bit with the matchbox, apparently. And Carol Ann thought the bit where she and her grandfather climbed up the waste pipe. She thought that was hysterical. She said that really made me giggle. And yeah, it's a good story. It's almost like a detective story. And they managed to set up a gas thing to heat up a cylinder, which then explodes and wounds Alan Tilburn, who played Forrester the Nasty Bastard. And that happened at the same time as the police arrived there, which they had managed to sort out. Yeah, it was just it's very clever. I think it's very clever. It's very entertaining, and it's very nature. Um,
About protecting insects.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very nature protective. Protection, as you say, of the insects. Then, which is a big thing now,
It's so important now. Yeah.
and that's it.
All right, let's go over to Larkhall Prison with Susie. If she can find the unmute button, that's
Right.
it.
What did you call it?
Larkhall Prison.
Oh, what was the one that River Song was stuck in?
Oh no, that's
Storm-
from Bad Girls. No, Larkhall's from Bad Girls.
Oh,
If anybody's ever watched that.
I'll take Stormgate. um, I did not grow up with Doctor Who, unfortunately. I was unlucky enough to come to it late in life. However, in respect to the fandom, I went back and watched everything I could find from the beginning all the way through so that I could have reasonable conversations and no one would say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you didn't see
And let's
it.
be honest, she still doesn't know what she's talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about anything. So anyway, and there's reason for that. Thank you very much.
It's what drove her to drink. She never drank before she watched Doctor Who.
That's right. It's okay. Actually, Alan drove me to drink. So
Oh, wow, thank you.
so what I'm about to say comes from someone who did not grow up seeing this in the time period that it was meant to be watched in. And so I adore B movies, B Godzilla movies. My family grew up watching old B Godzilla movies. I love them. This is always, all of the first couple seasons of Doctor Who, if it had been just those that I watched, I'm not sure that I would have continued and become a huge fan. I understand that they're fabulous in their own right. It's just not something that's ever personally moved me. I like a lot of the individual characters. I love the Doctor. I love Susan Foreman. I love lots of the, I love it. But as together, it's just a little too Plan 9 from space or whatever. What's that bad B movie guy that made stuff? I don't know.
Are you trying to say it looks cheap?
No, it reminds me of Ed Wood is what it does. When I'm watching it, I really want 3 little robots in the front. That's what I want. But anyway, this episode, I thought it was cool. I did. The concept was really cool. I couldn't figure out why the heck the guy, male companion, what's his name again?
Ian. Yeah.
Every time Ian had the opportunity to hide, he went into something that they were going to pick up and take with them. Everybody else went in to other places that couldn't be moved. But the matchbox, the briefcase, they get out of the briefcase. Oh, let's go back in the briefcase. I mean, I'm like, don't go into the freaking briefcase. I actually was screaming at the screen.
They have to keep the story going.
But so overall, I mean, it laid a really good groundwork for who the Doctor is, because in spite of risking all of their personal safety, he saw that if this product was meant to go to market, it could kill the world, and therefore they had to stop it, regardless of how it happened to them. So it does show the basis for all of the, ethical decisions of the Doctors to come. So while this isn't an episode I would like to watch over and over again, I'm really glad I saw it again, and it had some really important moments, and it deserves our respect. So there you have it.
Yep, thanks for that, Susie. And wasn't this meant to be the first episode of Doctor Who? Wasn't this story originally planned to be the first one?
No.
I thought it was the Unearthly Child.
The idea was, and it's going to be called Doctor Who and the Giants. They never went through with it, and then Andy Coburn gave them their script instead.
Ah, that's it. Thank you for that, Jake. Let's go to Susan. Is Alex with you, or is he not with you today?
Yeah, here he is.
Yep.
Just a
Yep,
moment.
we'll go over to Alex and Susan.
Great. Yeah, I love this. I love the interaction with Susan and Ian, that they were split off as like a team, and then the doctor and Barbara. And this gave Barbara the chance to, really learn to rely on the doctor, and that was fun. And but Susan and Ian were like hilarious. They were so fun together. I mean, Ian in the little matchbox, and their adventures in the briefcase, and like that stuff. Like they found fast ways to travel, that's for sure. Whereas the doctor and Barbara are like climbing up this through pipes and stuff. I'm impressed. No, they didn't climb through the pipes. That was Susan and the doctor that climbed through the pipes. Okay, so was this after Barbara touched the seeds? I don't remember. Anyway, it was great. I loved this. It was really fun. And that's my opening thoughts. Here's Alex.
Yeah, I mean, if this was before Planet of the Giants, which I know that the other creator, yeah, go ahead.
This was Planet of the Giants.
No, I'm saying what was it, the Land of the Giants, the American one with Irwin Allen.
Oh, okay.
Which it does kind of remind me of. I know it's a different
I'll send the board
show.
out now.
Yeah, I know, but same idea though. Same idea. Yeah, this was better and smarter than one episode of that show. Of course, it wasn't the American one was in color and a lot more money. But as always, Doctor Who usually has the idea first, usually has it on television first, and tries its best. It usually is pretty good. Well, it is written better. I don't know if it was overall better, but it was written better.
All right, that was short for Alex. I was about to watch something on YouTube. Let's go to Jake. It was half an hour long, by the way.
Did we actually hear from Susan?
This story is
You just weren't listening.
This story is my least favourite Hartnell, and probably my least favourite classic Doctor Who story. I'll tell you why.
Wow.
I like the idea. I like the bits they're all shrunk. I just couldn't stand the scientists and all that stuff to do with it. I didn't think it necessarily gelled well. I'd have rather read the first 3 parts, the Doctor and the gang all small, than have the big people in episode 4. Which can you go somewhere else quickly? Because I've got to go get my dinner quickly.
Yeah, we'll go to Lee. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, to carry on what Jake was saying, this initially was a 4-parter.
He was just fed by Susan Foreman.
Yeah, and it was the season opener of season 2. And after looking at the rushes of this story, it was a two bit boring to be a 4-parter. So they edited episode 3 and 4 together, and this Planet of Giants became the first Doctor Who story to be a 3-parter, and was the only one up until the 1980s. So all the way through to the 80s, this was the only 3-parter story. But I think, having watched the reconned sort of episode 3 and 4 on the DVD, I prefer the broadcast 3 episodes, to be honest. I can see why the 4-parter didn't work, but the 3 episodes does work. I like the concept. I think the settings that what the model people did was amazing. All the giant telephones, the giant ants, everything like that. The acting, Hartnell, William Russell, all like that, brilliant. But for me, it does drag here and there, and it's usually with, as Jake says, the scientist part. The story, I can understand the story, but it just, as Jake used the word, it didn't seem to gel together with the miniaturized TARDIS team setting. But in fact, it's an enjoyable thing. I watched the 3 parts. I wouldn't say it's the worst for me. It's not the best, but you know, it's a nice watch. And as you say, it's got a message, which, you know, some people always say nowadays, you know, Doctor Who wish to stop preaching, blah blah blah. This is 1964. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an enjoyable watch. So back over to Jake.
Sorry about that. Like I was saying, basically what Lee said, I like the Doctor and that, but in this story, I don't know why, but I could not stand Barbara or Susan in this story. I don't know why. There's bits I was watching, I was like, oh, shut up. Let's get on with what you're doing. Like when Barbara's got that pesticide, she's doing her stupid falling over, like, oh, she did the most slowest fall over I've ever seen in my life. It was so dramatic. I thought, God's sake, girl, let's fall face down. More of an impact. But yeah, their scientist stuff really didn't work. I thought it really dragged. I'd have rather have had like hints of those humans and actually see them, if that makes sense. Like see like the Doctor and Susan like trying to dodge like sprays of pesticide and stuff, if that makes sense, rather than actually see it like happening from the people's perspective. Like the whole I think the whole murder thing was just in there for like the Doctor and like for them to like see the face for like a horrifying image. I don't think that should have been in it either, to be honest. I'd have rather it said the Doctor and his companions wander about in this garden and have the acknowledgement that these humans are spraying pesticide, and they try and like stop it, but don't see the humans properly at all till the last part. If that did you see where I'm trying to come from with that? I think it should have been cut down massively from the humans' perspective, and focus more on like the Doctor and companions. And like Lee said, the model work was fantastic. And obviously later on we get more insects, apart from the insects that are even bigger in Web Planet. I think it is a time where the model department is getting really good, if that makes sense. Because we've and obviously it's Susan's last story before she buggers off in the next one. But yeah, it just isn't my cup of tea. And the scientist stuff really lets it down.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is with this story is it's all over the place. Like the quality of it as well is all over the place. The editing sometimes is just weird. And it makes sense that some of it was cut and an episode was cut and it was cut down into 3 parts because the editing was very strange. The model work, like Jake said, and like Lee has said, you know, where they're on like this giant pad and then there's a giant sink like Susan's got behind her. That was amazing. That was all amazing. I have no problems with any of that. That was all great. But the human bit with the scientists, it was very mishmash. And how they got miniaturized, I never understood why anyway. I just thought, why would that miniaturize them? And then it's Susan trying to explain that to Ian, that they're shrunken down, and Ian's not believing her. And it's like, hello, you sat on a matchbox. I mean, what more evidence do you need? I mean, yeah, and it felt like they were trying to add danger where there really wasn't any. I didn't feel any danger, even though the model work looked amazing. There was no threat, if you know what I mean. There was no threat. They were like, oh, Doctor, oh, Susan, oh, Barbara, you know, and it was a lot of that. And I just didn't feel any danger towards it. And I didn't feel the story quite connected together. It felt a bit, in a way, it felt like they had an idea, but nobody quite knew how to execute it, to be honest. And the idea is very good. I mean, pesticides are bad. There's still many bees, etc., that die from pesticides, and we need insects. You know, if you don't like bees and stuff like that, well, I'm sorry, you won't be here without them, because we'll all be dead if we didn't have bees and stuff like that, because we need them to pollinate, etc. So, yeah, it's got a message in there. And Doctor Who's always had a message in its episodes. You can always find it in every episode that you watch. There'll be some sort of message. This was obviously a heavy message episode, really, because it was basically all about pesticides. And that's a good story to have. And this is a good story to tell. But they just didn't quite get it. Just didn't quite, land it. It needed more work. It needed a lot more work. But the effects were great. The models, the worm, the everything, the ant, were great. But I still enjoy it. I can sit, because it's only 3 parts. So you can sit down and you can watch it and you can think, right, there is a good story in here, and the model shots are great, and there's still enjoyment to be had. Even though I do feel like the characters I don't know, they're just slightly irritating in this one. I do find they're all just slightly, I was getting annoyed with them. They're quite irritating. And when Barbara faints, it's all a bit, as Jake said. But they're a bit annoying in this one. And back then, this is when the Doctor used to call the TARDIS the ship. But there is one thing that irked me watching it the whole way through, is that, and this does connect to series 12, Susan's not his granddaughter. Is she? Susan's not the granddaughter anymore. And I sat there watching that thinking, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to favourite moments. Let's go to Susie, since she's unmuted.
Oh, favorite moments.
If you don't have any, it's fine.
No, I mean, I already alluded to the funny ones when he kept going into the briefcase, and every time he would go into something, the thing was picked up. But the bit in the sink, that was really quite impressive.
The sink was good.
I didn't even know they had extra, overflow things in sinks. My sink just goes straight down. So, no, it was. I think I liked those moments where they were cleverly, and I liked the fact that they were trying to do the right thing and save the world, even though they knew that they probably wouldn't come back from it, because that's a key Doctor Who theme moving forward, and it was good to see it in the beginning. So those are kind of my 2 favorite moments. Yeah. Oh, and I liked the selflessness of female companion, not Susan.
Barbara. Female companion, not Susan.
Barbara. I liked the selflessness of Barbara, just not telling people about the infection that she had, because they weren't going to do anything for her, and it would have hampered the efforts to do everything else. So she did what she had to do. So I really appreciated that. But those are my favorite moments. They're all character driven. I mean, I thought the insects are cool and all of that stuff was really cool. But yeah, my favorite moments were the character moments like that.
See, another bit that I felt didn't quite work with the editing is when Susan sees the cat, and it just
I forgot about the cat.
The editing doesn't work with that, though. It doesn't work, does it? It doesn't. It just looks a bit.
The cat was awesome. The cat was the only scary thing. I saw the cat. I'm like, oh my god, the cat's gonna kill them. So the cat was awesome. I liked the cat, and I found it threatening. And they were just very lucky that the cat decided not to swipe at them, because he's right. They would have all been dead instantaneously. So I liked the kitty.
Okay. Let's go back to Susan and Alex, and then we'll go to Beef Dad.
Did I get it? Yeah. So my favorite moments were, I was going to say the cat moment. The cat was great.
The cat's popular tonight.
And I also liked the climbing up the. They're trying to climb down the stopper chain, and that was fun. And like the other everybody else climbing up from the in through the drain pipe. That was also really cool. I thought that that when they discovered the seeds that would be and they were covered with the pesticide that they would, that it was like it was like Dalek, or the Dalek story, in that Ian was shot and his leg went numb, and that this was sort of incapacitating Barbara. And I love the way that Ian and Barbara have to take care of each other when they are injured. So that's always so sweet. It's so sweet. And Susan was yeah, I guess she really wasn't the granddaughter in this. That was a difference. I'm in agreement with my other cast member here for saying so. And let's see, any other things that were really amazing about this? Yeah, that's my favorite moments for now. Here's Alex.
Yeah, like I said, the way it starts out is interesting. Just like Edge of Destruction, it's in the TARDIS, then they move out of the TARDIS. The screen blows up. That was also interesting. The cat, the insect, I thought that was a little weird, but the pipe starting a fire, I like that at the end where the what was it when Ian and Susan were pushing that thing, and he's like, "Hey, doctor, you ever try lifting this thing?" So yeah, the murder,
Snarky.
I do have a question about the cat, though. They were so small. Would the cat have even bothered them?
I don't know. Cats like little dust.
I mean, I know my cat
Particles,
would.
and then they also like laser
yeah.
points.
My cat would have totally gone after them. My cat's an asshole.
See, my cat wouldn't.
My cat would. She likes to go over little pieces of fluff that she sees.
Oh, right. So maybe they. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the cat would have done.
But I like the fire scene where they had to strike the match and light the Bunsen burner and set
Yeah,
stuff on
he's
fire.
an arsonist. This doctor, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let's start a fire.
Well, he was trying to call the police earlier.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I mean, that was cool.
Yeah. Was that it, Alex, or have we got more, or is that it?
Yeah, I didn't like the murder plot as much. I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But yeah, I mean, the rest of it I kind of liked. I mean, like I said, they were trying very hard, and it was written better. It's just that they probably needed better editing, shorter story, and I don't know what that murder plot was about, because it's like, well, I remember I heard a few radio shows, even in America, that had a similar plot, but not adding murder to it. It was more philosophical or more theological. But that's completely different. That was on radio, so they had to, fluff that up a little bit. But like I said, Doctor Who usually is well written. Usually, it is political. There usually is a point to it. That's why we remember as fans the stories that we really got upset about, and Alec can mention all those and all that. But yeah, I mean, they definitely were trying. It's just a shame that the editing wasn't better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. All right, let's go to Beef Dad, as I said we would.
I enjoyed it right at the very beginning when they first see the dead ant, and that is really good. They were a bit evil with the murder. I thought it was a little bit extreme, shall we say, to show it the way they showed it, considering this was supposed to be a kids program at the time. And yeah, with Jacqueline Hill and William Russell and The Fly, that was extraordinary. The Fly, especially when it's dead on the top of the seeds, that's pretty extraordinary. Yeah, I did love the cat bit. Everybody at the time was surprised that the cat never tried to attack them. The striking of the match with Caroline and William was absolutely brilliant. And the way that the thing exploded,
How many minutes do you
timing was extraordinary, how it exploded just at the same point as the policeman arrived in the place. And yeah, the telephone call that they made previous to that, and the local woman saying this is definitely not Pharaoh's voice. There must be someone else. It must be someone else there. We should get the police in. And she sends the policeman there, which I thought was rather clever. And because you had a lot more of that sort of local telephone operators, which you don't have now because it's all done electronically. Yeah, that was Hilda Rouse was the telephone operator. Rosemary Johnson, I thought she did that rather nicely. It was a nice little character, but short. And I loved it when they all got back into the TARDIS, started it off. He was really pleased that it was starting off. And they realized that they had grown back to their original size because they had William Russell had carried in one of the seeds, which was quite massive, and they could see that the seed had shrunk to the size of a seed. That was great for me.
All right, then. Well, we'll move on to, let's go to Jake for favourite moments, if he has any.
I loved the bit in the sink because I thought that's the only bit of the story where they're actually in danger to me. That's the shot that you got of Susan and the Doctor carrying in the dark. The way that's lit is so creepy, and all the running water just builds up the atmosphere of that scene. But like I said, it's the only scene in this story where I'm like, wow. Are they gonna get out of this? Are they gonna drown? They're in trouble. That's the only thing in this story. It's probably one of my favourite cliffhangers, even though it's not my favourite story of all time. I like the match bit, but I can't really tell you much more that I liked about this story. I dislike it more than I like it.
All right, then we'll move to Lee then. That's fine.
Well, this was written by Louis Marks, and he wrote 3 other Doctor Who stories: Day of the Daleks, Planet of Evil, and The Mask of Mandragora. I think he got better as he went along. So This was his first script, and in every script he did, he got better because them other stories are classic. Yeah. I like the way the Doctor Hartnell got more involved in this, doing more physical stuff, climbing, and he said to Susan and that, like, no, I'll climb up there, I'll have a look. So he was grappling up there, getting up there, because the first Doctor never used to do that. It was always, Chesterton goes and does this, goes and does that. I just like the whole idea of the miniaturized theme of this. It's just brilliant. The model work is just brilliant in this. I mean, as it's been said, I think Alex mentioned, the Land of the Giants TV show from America in the 60s. Even the Avengers did an episode of miniaturization, which starred Nicholas Courtney in that one.
Which started Nicholas Courtney. I was going to say that.
But I just like the idea of the miniaturization of the TARDIS crew, and I say how they works alongside the huge models, shall we say. I'd love to know what's happened to all these models.
Yeah.
Mostly don't exist at all now, but
Destroyed, yeah.
Something else sits in somebody's garage somewhere. One of them.
All the insects they could have reused for the Zarbi and the.
It's for me the scientists that and I agree with the murder thing. That was a bit over the top for as Beef Dad said, a kids program, because it was just on the man's face as he was laid dead on the floor. That was a bit iffy. I do like the telephone operator. That she was great. She was.
She had some funny lines.
Yeah, she was the nosy telephone operator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good little cameo. That it was good there, because it is a serious subject, so you've got to put a bit of lightheartedness into it. And
I thought there wasn't enough humour in it. I thought there should have been more lightheartedness. It was quite serious.
Yeah, that was the only sort of lighthearted thing in the thing.
It needed more of that.
Yeah, but all in all, it's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah. Well, one of my favourite moments is definitely the sink moment. I think it looks brilliant, and some of the things in this episode do look brilliant. And it's a shame that it's not a polished story. It's a shame that it doesn't really work, because it's a great idea, and it's got some great scenery. Every time when they're stood on something small, on something really large that's meant to be really small, you just think that still looks great. Like when they're on that pad or the matchbox, and you think, and the poster, and you're thinking that still looks great. Still looks absolutely brilliant. When they're in the sink, it still looks good. Forget about it was done in the 60s. It's still, some of it still looks really good. It's just a shame that they just couldn't pull off the story and just couldn't get it to gel. Because otherwise, I think it would have been a great, great episode of Hartnell's. Because he was more active in this. But I do feel at the same time, like I said before, that I felt the characters just got slightly annoying. Did anybody else feel that? Did you feel that, Lee? Did you feel like, okay, they're getting a bit annoying?
Characters, you mean the TARDIS crew or the
TARDIS crew? I just felt like the TARDIS crew just got a little bit grating.
The only one for me who got a little bit grating was Barbara. Nothing against Jacqueline Hill, but the way it was a fly.
Yeah.
It was only a larger fly. I mean, it wasn't going to do anything to her. I don't know.
I was so terrified of everything, and so it just felt like.
Yeah, that's the only one. Yeah, I was only sort of disappointed with the way Barbara was sort of portrayed in this one. But all the others was normal. Chesterton, the Doctor, Susan was fun for me. See, Barbara was just a bit out of sorts for some reason.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, let's move to final scene score. Let's go on. Let's start off with Alex and Susan this time. Change it up a bit.
All right. Thank you. I I do love this, and I do think that it was a great episode. Great, great, interesting concept, and wonderful imagery. I thought that the way that they were trying to depict these scientists who were immoral, who were gonna, put this stuff down, and it wasn't just gonna kill the animals; it was gonna kill everybody. And they start off by killing each other. I think that was kind of necessary. I don't agree that it was superfluous. I think that it was really kind of necessary, kind of integral to the story. And the other thing that I love is, Susan was really brilliant. I mean, she had a lot of sort of cool alien moments in this, but like she does that all the time. And I also like the way that Barbara and Ian take care of each other when one is injured. And Barbara, the reason that it probably irks you, Aled, is because usually Barbara's the badass. Usually she's the one that's like the superhero of the story. I don't know.
She usually is stronger.
Yeah, so that's why it may sort of like it tips the sort of relationships on their head anyway. So let's just say I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I just love. No, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I can't. It was such a pleasure to rewatch this. So yeah, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Here's Alex.
Well, like I said, I've already pretty much said what I thought. Mostly good ideas, great set design, almost and certainly equal or if not better to the American version of what was it, Land of the Giants or whatever. Yeah. But the murder thing you didn't need. It needed better editing. Aled is right. Barbara was kind of weird. Didn't really make any. So there's like 3 flaws with this story: the scientist and the murder, the editing, and then Barbara being kind of weak when she's usually, the second leader. If you think about it, even though Chesterton does all the, plot planning or kind of explaining plot-wise what's going on to the
Oh
audience.
yeah, I think Barbara's always been on top of Ian.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
well, pardon the expression.
Yeah.
And also,
but I've always thought Barbara is better than Ian. No offense to Ian, but I've always preferred Barbara.
Yeah. Well, of course, Ian is the muscle. I mean, that's the other thing too, that he's sort of the muscle. For a teacher, he is a little bit of a gangster thinking guy. Pardon the expression again. But yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of good, and like I said, Doctor Who usually thinks of it first. The transporter, the Cybermen, or people that look like cyber, robot men, things like that. They usually thought of it first, and like
Honey, I Shrunk the TARDIS.
right. And then the other thing is, even book writers, believe it or not, that liked British television or don't like British television, have admitted that basically Doctor Who did, basically lead for the most part, and they did the most with, very little budget. So, I prefer Edge of Destruction or Unearthly Child, so I'm going to give this one probably a 7.5, just because there is still some good ideas, but it should have been a lot better. It should have been a lot better editing, a lot better story. And you're right, the Barbara, I don't know why Barbara all of a sudden was so weak.
Because she was poisoned.
I know,
Yeah.
but still.
That's a fair score. Let's go to Lee.
yeah, as I said, enjoyable. The model shots are brilliant. I'd say it's just the scientist thing didn't gel for me. I mean, I know it was integral to the story, but I think it could have been done a lot better. I'll go 7.5. It's still an enjoyable watch because, as I say, it still looks amazing.
Yeah, still looks amazing. Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah, that's a fair score. Let's go to Susie.
Okay. Well, yeah, Barbara was sort of okay because she was being systematically poisoned and was trying to be brave and not tell everybody about it because there was nothing to be done.
Yeah, I know.
It was early Who is really not my thing for some reason. I wish it was my thing. I want it to be my thing, but it's not something that I enjoy watching over and over again. But it's something that is deserving of our respect, and the effects and all of the seeds for everything that happens in the future is there. The background for Susan, the sink part was brilliant. And the fact, morally, that they were willing to give up their lives without anybody knowing to save the earth from this pesticide. I mean, that is a seed that continues throughout the series. So, I'm going to say I'll agree with Lee, 7.5. And Early Who is absolutely worth watching. It's not something that I enjoy, but I'm glad when I watch it because I learned something about the past. So that's it.
Yeah, that's a fair score. 7.5 is fair. Yeah, let's go to Beef Dad.
Well, one of the things you've got to remember with this, everybody's criticising Jacqueline Hill here. And yet, in many of the others, Carol Ann Ford tends to run away, and every time she twists her ankle. And this time, she got through it without any of that sort of stuff going on. And of course, William Hartnell, the Doctor, being surprisingly fit and climbing up the downpipe was extraordinary. That was brilliant. William Russell was his usual solid self. Yeah, so for me, it gets a 10 because I love it and it takes me back to my teen years.
Oh, that's good. Yep. All right, a 10 from Beef Dad. Is it going to be higher or lower than a 10 from Jake Cant?
For this one, for me, there's too much stuff in it that doesn't really work to me, whether it's the old scientist bit or it's overly ditzy companions. So I know, no offense to Beef Dad, but I'm going to give this a 6. It's not really my cup of tea, and not many of the 60s stories get super high ratings.
Well, I've got to say, I thought Jake was going to be harsher than me.
I thought Jake was going to give it a higher score.
I thought Jake was going to go lower. I was thinking, all right, I'm safe with a 5.5 because Jake's going to give it like a 2. So I'm safe. I'm not in the firing line. But now I'm in the firing line because I'm going to say it's a 5.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Speaking of Jake, do you remember that there was that line in the first or second episode? There is no word as can't or can't. I was like, what? You just negated Jake? That's not fair.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this story is, I mean, the thing is, it's a good story to have, and the concept is a good idea. It just doesn't deliver on it. And it looks amazing. The problem is this has so much potential, and it really did have a lot of potential because there was nothing wrong with it visually, but in the editing and in the script, and in some of the characters it just let itself down. And needed to be more humor, and it was just too dramatic for what it was trying to be. It was just too dramatic. It didn't need to be that dramatic. I mean, the sink scene is the best scene, but the rest of it was kind of a bit over the top, and it didn't really need to be. But I understand. I mean, they were limited back then, and Doctor Who was still fairly new, so they didn't really. They were still pushing themselves really with these stories. Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with a 5.5 because, and I don't think that's, 5 is technically average. Really, if you look at it, it's in the middle. It's average. It's not great. It's not amazing. I mean, if I compare it to other stories, I mean, there is other better William Hartnell stories. And this, I love the Romans. I love the Aztecs. I feel like they're much better stories. But this could have been a great one because it had the idea there, had the message there, the pesticides, and it had the visual aspect there. But it's just a shame that they couldn't pull it off. Yeah. So there we go. Tell us below what you thought of Planet of the Giants, if you've seen it. And I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you very much, Cher, for watching this. Look after yourself. Hit that subscribe button. Take care. Comment below, and we will see you next time.